My name is Trevor Mannion, and I'm the Director of Enrollment here at GNS, and I'm joined by three wonderful parents of GNS, two of whom also have an alumni connection. And so we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll go through a few questions and talk a little bit about the GNS experience, past, present, and future. But before we start, a quick overview. GNS is a preschool to grade 12 IB World School in Victoria, British Columbia, spread across two campuses with 85% domestic students and 15% international students from all over the world. And we're excited to be here today to share a little bit more about our experiences. So Claudia, maybe we'll start with you, and if you could introduce yourself and a little bit about your history with GNS.
Okay, my name is Claudia Bloom. My children have been at the school for 10 years. They started in grade 1 and 2 and are going into grade 11 and 12, which seems unbelievable, but somehow it does go fast. And yeah, as you probably can hear, my background is German. My husband and I moved to Victoria in 2003 and thought it would be for 2 or 3 years, and then we would move somewhere else, and we didn't do that, obviously. And one of the reasons, and this is really true, one of the reasons is GNS, because GNS has just been so amazing for both of our children. And that always, when we had serious discussions about moving somewhere else for job opportunities, we just did an analysis and always decided to stay, and here we are.
Awesome. Matthew, maybe we'll jump to you next.
Yeah, sure. My name is Matthew Gustafson. I'm an alumni of GNS, and my eldest son just started in the preschool program this past year, going to kindergarten this year. My daughter will be starting in the First Steps program, which is junior kindergarten of sorts, and she's really excited about that. Introduce myself. I'm a chartered accountant by profession. I grew up in Victoria. I loved the school and was just so excited when we were able to move back for work, that knowing that my kids would be able to get to attend and have a similar experience to what I got to have.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. And last but definitely not least, over to you, Zara.
Great, yeah. So my name is Zara Rayani Kanji. I'm actually an alum as well. I was a certified lifer, did my 12 years at what started out as Norfolk House, was the all girls, and then amalgamated in my grade 9 year. Graduated and went on to life. I'm now a pharmacist and a family business owner, and a mom of 3. So the 3 children started at GNS last year. We opted for public in the beginning because we have 3 close together, twin 10-year-olds now and almost 12-year-old. And so, and stayed with the public program until, with the idea that private would be the option for middle or high school. And we were kind of keeping that as the goal. And then COVID hit and kind of expedited everything for us. We saw they've kind of compared some notes with experiences with other families we knew who were in the private system, and in particularly with GNS as well, and opted to jump in. And we're grateful that there was room when we looked, because it was a little last minute when we started looking. But GNS was the one school that we went to inquire, because it was the one I was familiar with and comfortable with, and it's been a great year for the kids.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Well, I'm grateful that you've all taken some time from your busy days to join me here today for this. And I have a series of questions that we'll go through, and some are more targeted towards the alumni experience, some are more targeted to the current parent experience. So I'll sort of target them to each of you individually, but others feel free to jump in as we go. But we'll start off, we'll start with you, Matthew. If you could sort of respond to this, what did you appreciate most about the school during your time there? And how has your perspective changed on that now that you've had some time away as an alum and as a parent?
Who's taking it first?
Well, maybe if you want to take that one first, then we'll jump.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've got a couple notes here. I think for me, I just really feel that GNS has a very personalized experience, that students get to feel that they're an individual and that there's a lot of care from the faculty and staff. You know, they're amazing faculty and staff, and even after graduating, some of them staying in touch and staying close, and now coming back to the school, and a few of them still being there it's really cool, and it's a neat relationship to have, especially when I speak with peers and their experience that they had at schools be vastly different. And I just reflecting on whether it's learning disabilities or if it's somebody just having a strong personality, I really felt the school did a great way to foster that person, maybe in a good direction, but still allowing them to maintain that sense of self. And yeah, does that answer the question?
That's fantastic, and I think that's great. And Zara, would you have anything to add to that, or your perspective on what you appreciate most about your experience at the school, and if that perspective has changed at all?
Yeah, I would reflect that I mean, I saw the school through a lot of changes, but throughout that, the focus on the personal piece, I think I definitely agree with Matt. Personalized. I think my parents sent me there because I was a really shy kid. There were 12 kids in my grade 1 class at that time, and it really fostered me the ability to build some confidence. The academic program was phenomenal at that time, and it being IB now is phenomenal now. The teachers, yeah, fond memories of them, and I think there's only one left from my time there in the current, but fond memories of their really, they're there for a long time. They understand you, they see you through your growths and your challenges and help foster you through them. And then just friends and the co-curriculars, the enrichment, that was an eye-opening experience for me to see my kids go through the public school system, since I didn't have that experience, to see the differences there that exist. So in terms of enrichment, for sure.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Claudia, a question for you, similar to this. What was it that drew you to look at GNS originally for your two kids? And in which ways was it the school that you expected? And were there any ways that it wasn't what you expected?
Well, our children started in a Montessori preschool. And we didn't live very close to GNS, but we started, as I said, we moved to Victoria, and we started to meet people and ask people about the school system, which was completely new to us because my husband went through the school system in Germany, I went through it in Austria. And is my mic that is a little off? Or can you hear me? Okay, so we just started to explore and to understand the system because it's quite different to the European systems. And private schools was something, it's not very big in Europe. It still is not, particularly not when we grew up. And it was very interesting. And there's different private schools in Victoria, and most of our friends just went through GNS, like Matt's dad. My husband met Matt's dad very early on when we moved to Victoria, and he was a big person talking about GNS and putting us in touch with people. And so it was seriously the reputation, but I did my homework. I did a spreadsheet of all the schools and everything because it was just so new. And we went through the admissions process in different schools. And GNS stood out. It was just a great experience, and we thought it would be a good fit. And I have to say, it's the best decision we've ever taken, and we never regretted it. It was just fantastic for both of our children, which is great because our children are actually very different. And I think that's fantastic. And it really comes down what we have already talked about, the personalized learning. It's not this is IB, this is what you do. It's really they teach to the child, and every child is different. And has been a really good experience.
I appreciate that, and it hearing all three responses, that core value of individuality keeps coming through. So I'm thrilled to hear that. And Claudia, were there any things that when you got to GNS, that surprised you or that were different than what you had expected?
I honestly didn't expect it to be that great in terms of teachers. I was just blown away, or I still am, that the majority of the teachers are outstanding. And yes, of course, you expect a great teacher because you pay a lot of money to send your child there and you expect a great product. But my children have had teachers that it's unbelievable. They just go above and beyond, and they try everything. They notice little things, and it was really even better in terms of that, that's for sure. Yeah. And the community, we were just blown away because we first thought, oh, private schools, it's probably not for everyone, and people are very different, and all the kids are spoiled or whatever. And GNS is definitely not like that.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. And Zara and Matt, this isn't one of the scripted questions, but would you either of you be able to touch a little bit on that community feel as well, and what it's felt like as a longstanding alum coming back into that as a parent?
Yeah, I'd say I'll temper my response a little bit because COVID did make it a tad challenging being a new parent in the system, I think, as it would have been for any school system in the past year that actually had in-class schools, because we weren't connecting in a community in any realm for the last year, especially in the heavy lockdown period. That being said, the ability to connect with the teachers when we needed to connect with them, and the students' ability to connect with their peers within the class. Like, I am always nervous for my kids to go to somewhere where they don't have any friends, and they all came home talking about really lovely experiences with their classmates. They were welcomed, and so I think I'm really looking forward to this coming year to build that. And obviously I had the experience of that community as an alum. And so, yeah, it's just, I'm so filled with the sense of excitement for, as we all are measured. We've all got our vaccines, can't wait for the little ones to get theirs. But, I think there's lots of hope there and optimism to enjoy that piece of the school.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll echo Ian, Sarah said. This was a little different year, obviously, but that being said, comparatively, I felt like the school did such an amazing job, and we still had a sort of cobbled together community of parents. There was a WhatsApp group that one of the get the term, but class representative had put together, and there was good dialogue that was going through that. They arranged a virtual cooking class, so we got to kind of get together with you get to see these people with massive drop off, and you can have a quick conversation. But this was a way that we could all kind of get together, and I really thought it was amazing that through this all, I don't think there was a day that Ryan didn't actually get to go to school with classmates and have a semblance of normalcy. Drop off was still at the same time, and pickup was at the same time, and we were able, my wife and I both work, and we were both able to kind of rely on that, and that made a big difference. So yeah, I really appreciated that, and I'm looking forward as well to this next year where we can really truly get to know some more of the parents and faculty outside of the level.
Perfect. Thank you both. And Claudia, a question for you on a similar note as the former co-president of the Parents Auxiliary. Are you able to speak a little bit to that parent community and what it's been like over the last couple of years, maybe in a more normal year?
Sure. I think that is one of the things that really stands out for GNS, that it's a very family-oriented school. And there is a big community, and what I feel is that parents really care about everyone, not only about their child, but about the community. Just to give you an example, there is a dining hall at the middle school and senior school where the kids can come for lunch and buy food or have food pre-ordered. And it's completely volunteer run, that the parents volunteer every day to give out the food. And it's the same parents every 2 weeks. And that's kind of the job a lot of parents really like to do, because they get to know all the kids and they get to know the middle school eats in the dining hall. They have to eat in the dining hall with 1 or 2 teachers or the principal. And the senior school doesn't have to, they can come and go. But it's just really interesting to see. And it's what I find interesting is that we as parents, when we do that, we see the kids and we notice children. If something, for example, and I've heard that from a student that has talked at a parent auxiliary meeting, a grade 12 student that was asked, what did you like the most about GNS? And that student said, well, GNS really cares, the parents care and the teachers care. And that person explained that he went through a difficult, challenging phase in his life, and that when he was not well, that parents who don't really know that person, but just serving them in the dining hall, kind of talk to them. Are you okay? Do you need anything? And it's just, and it's the same with the teachers. And I think that really stands out. It's not only that we as parents, we want to have fun together. This is a great thing too, that we have parties, like grade parties or a parent party in a year or other fun stuff that we do. But it's really that the parent community, I feel that they care about each other. And for me, with 2 teenagers, now I see my kids' friends and they come to my house, and my daughter and my son go to other houses. And I think that's fantastic that I know the parents, because life is dangerous as a teenager and can be very dangerous these days. And I'm really grateful that I know those parents, that I trust them, that my daughter is there, that I know someone is there and has similar values that I have, and she's in a safe space. And the same is that when I have friends over, I'm responsible for all of them. And I think that's really fantastic. And that the Parents Auxiliary is really trying to build that community with different events. And it's really nice that you have the opportunity then at parties or events to meet other parents, not only in your grade. So really with younger kids, with older kids. So I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. That's some insight even I'm learning still along the way. That's great. Now, a question for you, Matt and Zara. If there were one thing in particular, what would that be, to the best of your knowledge, that most differentiates GNS from other schools, maybe here on Vancouver Island?
I mean, it sounds like you say it, but it's on the water. It's just an unbelievable campus. You show up and it's I thought about the question, and you can say all these amazing things about the school and the staff and the faculty, but if you really want to say one thing that differentiates it, you get out for recess at the junior school, and you're playing on the beach and you're turning over rocks and seeing crabs, and I think for young minds that's a really cool place to be able to. So location and the senior and middle school as well, it's nestled right into the It's got amazing facilities. So I don't know if that sounds bad, but location.
Love it. I think that's fantastic. There's something magical about the beach and even the other campus as well. It's a special spot for sure.
Yeah, I feel a little, well, I didn't get to go to the beach when I was growing up, but neither did my older daughter. She went straight into middle school, but I'm so grateful that they have access through their, like they got to go canoeing this year and stuff, and they're going to do more. I'm sure it's coming year. So I totally agree. The space that they, and the building that they have now is phenomenal on the junior campus. So I would agree with that. I think, like, I know there are a couple of other IB options on the island, but I think I'd still say like you're getting a world-class academic education balanced with some really lovely, like well-rounded co-curriculars and enrichment. And then with the combination of the kind of quality teachers you have, it's just a very unique environment to kind of bring the best out of your child. And that's what all one can hope for, I think.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you. And a question for you, Claudia. Thinking about your two children, what do you think the biggest impact the school has had on them over the last number of years?
It's definitely for my older one, who has some medical challenges and that result in academic challenges. And for him, it was definitely building his self-esteem, that feeling confident and being rewarded for working hard. And it's really, and that is very interesting too, that every child at GNS knows that they have to do their best. It's not everyone's best is the same. It's really, they are asked to do their best, and that's what they know, and that's what they try. And it's definitely confidence building. And otherwise, now that they're older, it's also encouraging independence, encouraging to do your own thing, to find something you like. And that is fantastic at GNS, that you have so many opportunities in co-curriculars and trying new things and going on different traveling experiences through Round Square. I think that's fantastic. But it's, of course, the academic program. But for me, honestly, it's, for me, the most important thing is that children are self-confident, because if they're not, it's very challenging. And there's always challenges, and there's always people in life that are better, and but it doesn't mean it's not the most important thing, because everybody is different. But you need to be confident. And I think GNS is doing a very good job in recognizing every child in different areas. And I really like, for example, all the awards that they give out at the end of the school year. And it's not only academic awards for the student that's the top of the class. It's really through different things, and sports awards. And again, not only the child that ran the fastest time is getting an award. It's really about sportsmanship. It's about participation, about doing your best. And I really like that every success is celebrated, and doesn't matter what it is. And they recognize when students do something outside of school. If a teacher knows that, they talk about it at assembly, and it's being recognized. And I think that's fantastic.
That's so great to hear. I thank you for sharing that, Claudia. And a question for all three of you, actually. What do your kids say about GNS and their experience here when they come home at the end of the day, or the end of the week, or the end of the school year? What do they think about their experience? And maybe we'll start with Matt, and then Zara, and then Claudia, go from youngest to oldest in terms of kids' ages.
Yeah, my son's 4, so he's overly enthusiastic about, I think, having friends, and his teacher was, now we're moving on from, but he loves, and get home, he does anything cool, he wants me to send for a picture of it. So we text through the summer here, Mira, with photos that he's requested she sees. So there was just such an amazing relationship that was built there. But really, the thing he talked about, and I asked him earlier today, what do you love most about school? What are you looking forward to in September? And he loved nature school, 1 day a week. Every week they do it out of class learning. I don't actually know when that goes till, but at the junior kindergarten level, and they put on their buddy buddies, and they go to a park that's a few blocks away from the school, kind of forested, and there's a beach below it, and they just get to explore. And for him, who's quite a restless child, I think a day of tiring every week is great, and he really excels kind of in nature and exploring. So yeah, the beach, the nature school, and his teacher.
Fantastic. It's living the dream for a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Zara, what about your girls? What do they say about GNS?
So one distinct difference that my husband and I remarked on right from the beginning, and it stayed consistent throughout, is that we used to have to, it felt like pulling teeth when we were asking the kids before how your day was. Like, it was just fine, one-word answers. Then starting at GNS, we get conversations about really interesting things, whatever they're learning in class. I've really appreciated the communication that comes through from the teachers too, to let us know what's going on, to help us prompt some of those discussions. But it's far more than one word. And oftentimes dinner discussions get really lively, and it's a fun age for the kids to be at too, because they're getting into some more interesting stuff. Well, it's always been interesting, but can kind of dig a little deeper. So that's been a huge difference, just coming home and talking about their day and what they've learned, and being really kind of stimulated by it.
So I'm glad to hear that. And Claudia, what about you? Or your kids?
I did ask my kids just before, and they said, you can only say this and this. So I tell you what they said. They said, it's a great school. It's a challenging program, and they love the community. And I had to repeat it to remember it. But of course, in the daily life, being in high school, doing IB is challenging. And of course, sometimes they work very hard, and sometimes it's very challenging and they're exhausted, but they really love the program. And I remember that my husband and I used to joke kind of when they were not working as hard as we were expecting them or hoping that they would work. We kind of said to them, well, you don't have to go to GNS. You can go to public school, and we go on vacation with that money. And they were kind of, no. So they would, if we would tell them that they cannot go back to GNS, that would be an absolute disaster. So they really, they just love it, both of them. And I think it's great. It's really nice to hear that children like to learn, because it's not an easy program, that's for sure. And I think that's a good thing. And they start to see the difference because they have friends from other schools, from public schools, and they see a significant difference, and they start to appreciate that they have the opportunity to learn that. And my daughter said today, it's challenging, but it prepares me for university. And I think that's cool. And a 15-year-old says that and understands that it's hard now, and it's harder than if I would go to a public school, but I'm so much better prepared for university than if I would now not work as hard.
I love to hear that. And go ahead, Zara.
Just going to add in, I always have to remind myself I'm talking about my younger children and my older one, and they're straddling the 2 years. And Claudia, I totally agree. Like, for my older daughter, it was going really well. And then there was a time when she started feeling the weight of the work. And it was just a realization of the difference. It's a different program and requires a lot more. It is a more rigorous program, requires a lot more work. But there was obviously helping her through that recognition and sort of how to manage her time, but a real sense of achievement as she got through that too, and stretch and stimulation. And it was lovely to see her grow through that. So, and again, their interest in getting up every morning and getting dressed and going without any battles, like it's amazing. So another testament to the school.
Fantastic. Well, it was my first year working here at GNS, and I have to say it was pretty amazing to see some of the assemblies and the culminating projects that these students maybe stress a little bit about or have to work extra hard on, and they come out and they're from some of our youngest students through to our grads, presenting things and performing in front of an audience and articulating so clearly things that they seem wise beyond their years in every sense that I have seen them present, and it's just been so remarkable. So it's been really fascinating hearing your perspectives on all of this. Now, my next question, again for all of you, and maybe we'll start with Claudia and go back through, but I'm really looking forward to this question. If the school were to be represented by as a single person, what would its personality be like using only 3 words?
So the first thought is caring and encouraging and ambitious.
Love it. That's great. And Zara, what about you?
So I was talking to my husband about this last night. We were saying one word would be like, a term would be well-rounded. And then I had a quick chat with my eldest daughter this morning, and the 2 words she came up with right away were it's hardworking and reflective. But I'll add those in.
It's funny, Claudia, you and I shared one word, the first one being caring, and I gave this good thought. And for me, my other 2 are a little bit different, but honest. I found the school was quite forthright with students, and as a child, that can be scary sometimes, but also refreshing and you know, a good experience to have prior to going out into the world. I'll tell you something honestly. The last one I came up with was humble. I think the school, in a very unique way, and it's juxtaposed from your word ambitious, but at least in my experience, I always found the school understated its achievements and its staff and its faculty, and it really let it speak for itself. And the students that were coming through, and the community being able to just speak about it. So for me, yeah, caring, honest, and humble.
Absolutely love it. Thank you, all 3 of you, for that. I know that's a tricky question that probably took a fair bit of thought there. I'm still racking my brain for what exactly my 3 descriptors would be, because I've got so many more than that. Now for Matthew and Zara, from an alumni perspective, if you were to change one thing about the school for the better, what do you think you would change, if anything?
Who's going first? No, I think I have a weird perspective in that, I love the school, I love the program, and really, I think in certain parts of senior school, there's a huge advantage to having a very small class, but also being able to have more students in a grade provides, bigger community, provides more funding for the school to be able to work on projects or support students in co-curriculars. So a weird one for me, and it's kind of direct, is I think some level of boarding, being able to put in a program, and I know the school's increasing its family boarding program this year, but still comparatively this, and Trevor, you spoke the number at the beginning, so correct me if I'm wrong, but about 15% international students, which in my experience is very low for a private school. And not that we didn't feel that it was the diverse class or there weren't chances to go on exchanges. My time, I think it went on 4 different exchanges in 4 different grades. But I do think, there could be, an opportunity for the school, or something that could be open to change about putting in a program that might increase that international base and provide some more diversity.
Fantastic. Thank you.
I would echo that. I think just reflecting on the numbers thing, I had 12 people in my grade 1, 40 people in grade 12. So the shy person didn't get a lot of practice the higher I went to the same school, but it also went to the community feel and the rest of it. So balancing that, but having sort of a few more numbers there, I think makes a lot of sense. Speaking to the diversity piece too, which is the one I'd written down, it's incredible. The student body I'm finding is incredibly diverse, especially compared to the time when I was at the school. And I think I'm seeing a bit more diversity in the faculty, and as that starts to reflect more, it'll be interesting given the day and age we're in and the complexities of life that we are all addressing. And I think that takes time because of the nature and the quality of teaching we have from the long-standing staff we've got. So in the experience, but finding those right people and having that reflection, I think would only make any organization stronger.
Wonderful. I appreciate both of those very, very thoughtful responses. And another maybe for the whole group. Is there anything you think families would find particularly interesting about the school or the experience here, either as a student, an alum, or a parent? And Claudia, maybe we'll start with you on that.
Well, I think the advantage, and I do agree with what Matthew said about small school, there is disadvantages, and I definitely have seen the advantage of international students, but they sometimes only stayed for a year, which was really hard because then they go back. But it is still a great experience, and in the day and age we live, my children are still in touch with those students, and I think it's definitely a huge advantage of the personal, that the teachers really know the students very well. And I do remember there was many years ago, there was even a bus ad that kind of said, every teacher at GNS knows every student. And there is a huge advantage to that because they really care. It's very personal. And I think that's, for me, that's the most exciting thing, that they're part of a community and they feel that. They know that they are part of a community. And it's interesting that the students know each other, like different grades. And I think the school has done a great job in that the middle school is doing things with the junior school and the senior schools, and there's a buddy program with grade 11s and I don't know, kindergartens or whatever. I think that is really important because it's so much more fun for younger kids to work with older students, or to go to the lab and see an experiment, or whatever they do, or with the Terry Fox run that they run, older students run with younger kids. I think that is really neat, that they see one day I will be as big, like this big student there. And for older students, it's usually really neat to see young kids because they just can't remember that they were that young. I think that's one of the area that is quite special about GNS, that we're really trying to be a big community, and the students do a lot of things together. And now with the new building at the beach, I think this will only increase, not last year because of COVID, but now we have way more space to do things like that.
Definitely. I think that's great. And Zara and Matthew, do you have anything to add to that, or any thoughts there?
I can say that speaking to that community connection, I have probably it's brought up some really fond memories actually for me from my days of knowing, the grade 10s and the grade 12s when I was in grade 1 and grade 2, they'd come in. It was such a nice feeling to be seen by them, as well as all these teachers who had like a caring aspect. Of course, those connections were were definitely limited this past year, but there were a few and they were totally notable to our kids. Like they came home and you could see that. So it's something I'm looking forward to as we kind of move into the next stage. And I think it may not seem like a lot, but the exposure to the co-curriculars, it was just phenomenal to have our kids try so many different sports and so many different instruments and so many different types of art, all in, a required manner to go through some of this stuff. So it meant they got exposed and their horizons were, lifted a little bit. And I think that's part of the experience that we were really, really happy about for them.
Yeah, I'll dovetail off the end of that and just say it really has a great extracurricular program in that it's not just sports after school, which sports are great. I just never good at them personally, but we had debating and public speaking, which had all of these programs that you could do and you could find your own place in. And I didn't go to another school. But when I was in the debating and public speaking program, I loved it, and and the other kids did too. And there was nobody looked down or differentiated it from any other extracurricular you were doing. Some kids were going to go play soccer, and some kids were going to go into a classroom again and spend a few hours arguing. So it's I think I find that surprising about the school. It's very well rounded and very supportive of whatever what's your vote.
Could I add something?
Absolutely, please.
Talking about the public speaking, I think that is a huge advantage that they're getting prepared from kindergarten on to speak in front of the whole school, to stand up at assembly in the beginning to read a line, or some are braver and they sing or whatever. And it's getting more and more. And there are projects that they have to do, like in grade 8, the Gallery of Fame, where they work on they have to be a person from history and they research that person. And for one evening, they are that person. They have to dress up like that person. They have to talk like the person, and they have to talk about their life. And they talk in front of a full theater. And there's different projects like that. And I think that confidence is unbeatable, because most of us learn public speaking in our first job, and it's terrifying for everyone. And I think it's really amazing when kids learn that young. And my niece from Switzerland, who went to an IB school in Switzerland, she came to GNS for 6 weeks for an exchange, and she was horrified. She said, "We have never done public speaking at my school, and I have to be part of a Shakespeare play." And in the end, she had to, in the senior school assembly, she had to talk about her experience at GNS. She was horrified. But afterwards, when she left, and still to this day, she says that's the main thing, the biggest thing. She loved her experience. But she says that's the main and the biggest thing is that I really learned to talk in front of my class, to talk in front of a full theater and just do it. Everybody is nervous, but and I think that is really, really true. And the communication skills from some of those students, the majority of them, it's mind-blowing. It's really fantastic.
Another point I'll put on that, just on kind of the school and public speaking, is my brother had or has dyslexia, so we had some challenges with writing out his thoughts or trying to communicate effectively through essay writing, and he was involved in the IB program at GNS. And there was an adaptive aspect, not in all cases, but a lot of ones where you'd be assigned an essay, he was able to put together his thoughts, but go and actually give it as a speech, which, was easier than having to, you know, I think the school's ability to be able to navigate each person's learning experience and still, challenge them and get them to learn the information, not regurgitate it, but be able to tell it back, whether it's through written or spoken, I think is really, I don't know if other schools do that, but I just found that interesting.
I love all of these stories. This is fantastic. I'm learning so much as we go along. Now I've got one last question for each of you, one for you, Claudia, and then a separate one for Matthew and Zara. But Claudia, how would you describe the values of the school and the values of the families within the school community?
Well, our slogan is, our tagline is, do your best through truth and courage. And I think that is really ingrained in the community, and the students know that, the teachers know that, everybody knows that. And there is a lot of values in that. And I think the strategic plan shows perfect values with community oriented and truth and courage and individuality. And I think it's really true. It's very true that we're community oriented. We try to be courageous. The kids are really encouraged to be risk takers and try new things and stand up in front of their class or in front of assembly and do something. I think it's very true that doing your best through truth and courage says it all. And very often values, when you read values from a company and the company, you read the values and you think, oh, really? But with GNS, I feel it's very true. And it's very, very down to earth. And we've talked about that before. I think it's very, and that is fantastic for a private school, that the community is just very down to earth, very friendly, very community oriented, and try to do their best and be their best. And doesn't always work, right? It's life, but usually it works very well.
I love it. Thank you. And my last question for you, Matthew and Zara, and maybe we'll start with Zara. But having both gone through the school for a significant amount of time and both having kids that entered the school last year, if you were to have some advice for students considering GNS or entering the school in the future, what do you think that advice might be?
I'd say being open to, this is to any child as a mom, I'm going to be thinking about what I tell my kids, but coming into the school, being open to the opportunities and just try everything. The number of different opportunities that just existed in their first term and first experience at GNS compared to their previous experiences was vast, and it was all within the day. So there was much within the day, there was a little bit outside, but just be there to absorb it and be open to it, I think, is probably the biggest thing.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's truth and courage.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to say the exact same thing, but yeah, being open to it. I have another note here. It says, get to know the faculty. But even if you don't get to know you, they're such a close-knit community that there is such a great effort. One of the teachers that drop off, he opens the door outside every day. He learned every kid in the junior school's name with the first, I'll say month, but it might even have been less. That's really cool. So yeah, advice. Try things, get to know the faculty. I guess this year, get to know the other parents. So yeah.
Awesome. I think that's fantastic. And that was my last question. We've just come to the top of the hour here. So I want to extend a massive thank you to each of you for taking the time from your busy schedules to chat and to share more about your experiences, your family's experiences, and your kids' experiences as well. And I know we're looking forward to another great year with the pandemic hopefully moving a little bit behind us, and maybe something a little bit more normal with more parent socials and more opportunities for the kids to get out into the broader community as well.